Well, my next guest is one of the biggest pop megastars in the world and an absolute Sunrise favourite. Katy Perry has sold more than 45 million albums, with her songs streamed more than 40 billion times. Now, in self-isolation, she's gearing up for the release of her new record and the birth of her first child. It's hard to believe this was less than 3 months ago. Katy Perry belting out her biggest hits at the MCG on International Women's Day. She backed it up with a special concert in the Victorian town of Bright to thank our firefighters. Spirits were high. Katy had just announced her pregnancy, the singer expecting her first child with fiancé Orlando Bloom. But that same week, she was forced to flee Australia as the coronavirus pandemic took hold. She returned home to the US to ride out the storm. From lockdown, Katy released a brand new single, Daisies, a celebration of resilience in the face of adversity. Well, international superstar, mum-to-be, all-round sensational human, Katy Perry, welcome back to Sunrise. It's wonderful to see you again.
Nice to see you after leaving Australia on March 13th, not knowing what the heck was going on. I feel like we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, a glimmer of light at least. My goodness, has a lot happened since you last left Australia. I think your last concert really coincided with the last of our freedoms in this country. It was certainly the last big event Australia has seen since the world was locked away during COVID. You performed before 80,000 people, International Women's Day. It was just incredible. A week later, you're whisked away and in isolation. What on earth was that like?
Well, it was so interesting because, gosh, I did one concert in Bright for the first responders. And at that moment, I mean, I imagine we thought, you know, the worst was behind us. And 2020 just decided to go, hold up. So I remember just, you know, I remember Thursday, March 12th, and hearing about Tom Hanks and him being in Australia. And then it all felt so real. It started to get really real. And I think in a matter of 48 hours, it was like, just gather up your loved ones and figure out your plan. And I became, I put together a little like military operation.
Really? I mean, it had shades of a military-like evacuation?
Yeah, I mean, I like strategy, and we figured some things out, and you know, we made the best of it. Even though it was overwhelming at times and difficult, we definitely created a bond within our family that's deeper than any holiday we've ever had together. And there were a lot of things to reflect upon during that time, and there still are.
And that must have just been such a scary process too, Katy, as a mum-to-be. I mean, you talk about gathering up your loved ones. One loved one in particular was very easy to smuggle out of the country. You're getting ready to be a new mum.
Right. I had just announced, as I was in Australia, I had just announced and put out my video for Never Worn White that revealed my baby bump. And yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it was like, oh, I'm really grateful that I didn't have to deliver in March or April. And it was a one day at a time scenario, you know? And, you know, it still is. It still is. It's still a little touch and go. And I'm just trusting in the health professionals and you know, really leaning on my other friends that are pregnant. We have a little troop of us that are pregnant, and sharing information and educating ourselves. It's the best we can do.
Well, to be honest, no one really knows what it must be like to be you right now, releasing a new album and going through COVID isolation and preparing to be a new mum. As far as I'm aware, there is not a self-help book titled How to Be a Global Megastar During COVID.
Yeah, I seem to take the road less traveled almost every single time. You know, I'm excited to put out a record August 14th. I was going to put a record out in June, but everything changed and the world changed, and you know, it was just like too soon, I think. But I decided to stay on the path because I'm also going to have a child, and when I do, I'll go into my second personal quarantine transition into being a mother. But I decided the train, the music must go on. The train must keep chugging along. And I even made a really raw Super 8 music video for my first song from this record called Daisies.
Yeah, and it's magnificent, actually. And the song, too, it's so beautiful, it's so layered. It's about empowerment, and I think it's about emerging from periods of struggle, which you've been wonderfully open about as well. In the music video, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's even a nod to one of my favourite French philosophers.
What? Which one?
Albert Camus. Is that the myth of Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill?
Well, yes, we did an animated video, and it was based on the myth of, I can never say his name, Sisyphus. But yes, we take from the ancient philosophers sometimes. They're good ones. Yeah, I think that this song is about perseverance. And I think that this song took on a whole different meaning in quarantine. For me, it was like a time of reflection, and maybe I think in that reflection, we took some things for granted, or realized we put some dreams on the shelf that we always thought we had access to. And in reality, we never thought like our basic freedoms would be stripped from us. So I think a lot of people are ready to live their new next 2.0 type life coming up, and not take things for granted and not put dreams on a shelf. And that's what this song is all about. It's like, never mind the negative comments on your social media or the naysayers. No dream is too big, and why can't it be you?
They tell me that I'm crazy, but I'll never let them change me. Such powerful lyrics. What I think's beautiful, Katy, about your connection with your fans is that it's underpinned by a really raw honesty. You give them an insight not just into your music, but also your personal life. The process of writing this album, it's been a challenge, hasn't it, I understand, because you've been through some big ups and downs.
Yeah, this record is a real snapshot of resilience, which is my favorite word and has been for a while, because I've been writing it over the past 2 years, and coming out of Witness, which was my fourth album, my last record, I became very upset and depressed, and almost clinically depressed. Well, I was clinically depressed, and I just lost all of my, I became very insecure and had to go on a journey, both emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically, to understand why I had given so much validation outwardly and leaned so, intensely upon that, and how, everything related to my career, like, isn't all of what life is. It is one part of who I am. And so I really went through that journey, and a lot of beautiful songs came from it. And I got to tell you, like, when I'm writing songs like Firework or Roar or Daisies, it's not because I'm feeling that way. It's because I'm pretty down in the dumps, and it's like my soul takes over and becomes the ghostwriter.
What a great way of putting it. And that is the power of your music, isn't it? The message that it conveys to your fans, to young women, to people all over the world. It is a message of empowerment. Now, what about your support team, Katy? Orlando, how's he been through this process? COVID isolation, going through a pregnancy, and if you'd allow me, potentially a few little mood swings?
Well, I mean, I think we've all discovered something we didn't know about our partners or whoever we've quarantined with, and had our moments, But I think it's definitely stretched the rubber band of relationships. And, some people break and some people snap back and they keep it together. And I think, with us, he was working on a show in Prague in the Czech Republic, and he was almost finished, but he was working 6 days a week and working 16 hours a day. So he came home and he was really tired, and he was like, oh my gosh, I'm grateful for this time with you, and also grateful that we can be together during this special moment, because it wasn't planned. It was kind of like, I'll see you, when it starts happening. Not really, but it's great. We're finding like our silver linings in all of this, because I'm finding the balance, whether I like it or not, because I'm such a workaholic that I would have worked, until my water broke, quite honestly. And then, said, okay, I'm going to be a mom. But now I can kind of learn how to live in the small and the normal and the balance.
Well, there is no doubt you're going to be an incredible mum. What sort of a mum do you think you'll be? And let me ask you about this. Well, it's an incredible ultrasound image. It is going to be a very sassy little girl by virtue of the middle finger.
Yes. Well, to be quite fair, it might have been a peace sign. So if the peace sign, it was Orlando. If it was a middle finger, it was me. But I think, I don't know what exactly to expect, but I did say I don't know how I could love anything more than my dog. But I think I'm going to be in for a really big surprise, and it's going to be exciting. I'm just open. I'm probably going to be the bad cop because it's going to be Daddy's little girl. I'm going to be firm but fair.
What is the first thing you're going to do post-COVID?
Well, if I had my way, I wish I could travel, and I would love to go somewhere in Europe or somewhere, by a warm beach. But
Beaches, we've got a few of those in Australia.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of staying home this summer, and it's wild because I was kind of, I was planning on staying home, but it seems like everyone else is too. So let's do it all together.
Absolutely. Well, Katy Perry, it's been great to talk to you again. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sunrise. You're going to be an incredible mum. We're so excited for the album.
Thank you. August 14th. We'll see you soon.
And Katy Perry's new single, Daisies, is out now. And of course, as she just said, the album set for release on the 14th of August.